in Tallahassee this week at Bragg Memorial Stadium on the campus of Florida A&M University. And we got one of the teams here, the coaches from the teams that's going to be playing in the state championships this week, and that is head coach Chris Harvey from Clearwater Central Catholic. The Marauders are in the state championship game for the second straight year, going up against Chaminade Madonna in a rematch from last year's state championship game. And Coach, I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule. I know you guys are on a short week here, getting ready here for a 10 o'clock kickoff on Thursday against Chaminade Madonna in the Class 1M state championship game. But Coach, looking at this team looks much better than what last year's team was that was coming into that state championship game. Y'all are coming in still undefeated, unblemished record. What was the biggest change you made coming in from last season's defeat in the state championship game to this year and getting now to this point here again, being in the state championship game for the second straight year?
I mean, not to take away from anything from last year's team. I mean, we had a good core group of seniors that were able to get us there for the first time. And what I told these guys this week is the experience was great last year. And I think that that's something that the large core of returners that we have from last year have been able to sort of, continue to build upon. I mean, like I said, we took a group there. It was a great experience. But I think that this year, we've got a quarterback with state championship experience. We've got some returning offensive linemen. I think our defense is much improved. I think just overall that experience was something that really sort of propelled us forward for this season. And we've got a group of 14 seniors that were there with us last year, and from the time they started preparing this season in January, the goal was to get back. So here we are.
Here you all are back, and I think when you mention a quarterback with state championship experience, let's talk about him. Let's talk about Treshawn Newton, because I mean he definitely has the everything that he's going to be an all-state player. We already know that. Looking at the numbers, it's already there. It's already established. I mean, just looking at it, I mean the numbers that he has here. I mean, over 2,000 yards passing, over 1,000 yards rushing. I mean, this kid just, if he's not throwing the ball, he's running, and that's the two-dimensional. Although, I mean, if you're really three-dimensional effect, if you really want to call it that, he just you have to for opposing the defenses. They have to prepare for him both the legs and the arm. And what makes Treshawn, special, considering the fact he's only a junior? You still get one more year with him next year.
I think that anytime you have a kid that's able to put up those type of numbers, I mean, his natural ability is through the roof. I mean, he's without a doubt one of the most talented football players I've been around at any level. I've coached in college for 12 years before I came here, and I've been here now for 8 years, and he can just do things naturally that you just don't see in a lot of people. But then on top of that, you put his overall desire to compete and succeed, and he does everything on and off the field the way it's supposed to be done. And it's not surprising. I mean, he is the fifth Newton brother that's went through our program since I've been here, and I mean, he's got two brothers that won a national championship at West Florida. He's got another brother that was leading the country in touchdown receptions at Toledo this year, and then his youngest brother will be a top 5 or top 10 draft pick in the NFL this year. So to say that we're surprised by his success, we're not. But to say we're proud of his humility and his approach to things and his leadership, I mean, he's a chip off the old block and then some. So we're excited about, the fact that we have him for another year. And then on top of that, you talk about last year's team as compared to this year. We had some talent on last year's team, but I think he's learned how to use those weapons we have. I mean, we've got three or four amazing receivers that he has been able to spread the wealth to. I mean, I think we have 4 receivers with 15, 20 plus catches, 3 with over 30 catches. And, like you said, to defend his legs and then now his arm, I'm a defensive coach and I wouldn't want to have to do that.
No, absolutely. And let's talk about this receivers: Kayla Goodlow, Artavian McClellan, and then Shamar Rigsby, those guys that have over 30 catches each, and all three of them have at least 400 yards receiving. I mean, Caleb Goodlow leads the receiving corps with 682 yards. I will actually push 700. I don't think you've got as we're talking right now, the 13th game entered the stats just yet, but I know it's going to be over 700 yards at least. When we're talking about guys that are coming into this, I mean, these three guys, I mean, that's what you talk about using talent, being able to use that and spread it. What makes these three guys, that I just mentioned, special in their own rights? Because I mean, if it weren't for them, Deshaun wouldn't have the numbers he has.
No doubt. I mean, when you draw up the perfect offense, I mean, you've got 2 6'2", 6'4" receivers on the edge. You've got an electric slot that can do some pretty amazing things in space. And then on top of that, you got a quarterback that rushes for 1,000, and then another running back that's very close to rushing for 1,000. So, I mean, like I said, defensively, when you look at our film and you try to find a way to stop all those guys, it does sort of, you want to load the box and stop the run with the 2,000-yard rushers we have. Good luck playing on the perimeter man-to-man against three guys that can do some pretty, amazing things, lengthwise, size-wise, speed-wise. And then if you try to help those guys on the perimeter, vice versa, you can't, you're not going to have enough people to stop the run. So it is, it's a recipe for success. It's what, we've sort of hung our hat on. I mean, we had a forfeit this year, so we only played actually 9 regular season games, not counting the forfeit. But now through 12 games of competition, I think we've punted 10 times. So that's a pretty amazing statistic. And I think 8 of the 10 punts were in the games against Carrollwood and Trinity Christian. So our offense has been able to, spread the wealth, and they've been just as, if not more productive than any offense we put on the field.
And before we talk about defense here, let's talk about the in terms of you mentioned Carrollwood Day.
Yes.
That's the team that gave you the biggest fits this year so far. Not just in the regular season where it was a 28-27 game where y'all got out of that one, but it was also in the playoffs there in the regional final. What was it about Carrollwood Day that really gave y'all fit? And of course, then y'all had to fit with Trinity Christian here in the state semifinal. Y'all were down at one point like 20-7, and y'all fought back. So between those 3 games, between 2 opponents, what was the message to the guys that you have? Because I know that that message has got to carry over to the state championship game against Chaminade-Madonna, who's one of the who's nationally ranked.
Well, I think it just proves our team's resiliency. So that's, you just mentioned 3 teams or 3 games, 2 against Carrollwood and then 1 against Trinity Christian, where we were down by 2 touchdowns at some point in the game. But there's a 4th one, the first game of the year against Berkeley Prep. They jump out 14-0 in the first quarter. So 1, we'd like to be able to start a little bit faster, but 2, it just proves to the resiliency of our team that, there is no deficit. There's not a change in our approach. There's not a panic. It's just our guys play the game. I mean, I think that they're confident offensively. They're confident in the fact that there's not really a deficit that they can't overcome, and defensively, they understand that once they get their bearings, they're a very talented group. I mean, we have a defensive line that has, I don't have the stats in front of me, we've doubled our sack production this year over the last couple of years. We don't have a lot of interceptions or turnovers because of the increase in sack production, but our team has been great at stopping the run, and they've been great at putting pressure on the passer and making people uncomfortable. And that's something we have to continue to do.
No, and absolutely. And that's a good segue to talk about the defense. Keo Jenkins, 14 sacks, sack leader there for you. And then, of course, you got Tyreek Harris with 12.5 right there. And, of course, overall, 45 sacks recorded so far this year, which is the uptick that you're talking about right there in that production there. And that, of course, as you mentioned, you only had 7 interceptions so far this season. So, getting the pressure, especially with a quarterback like Cedric Bailey that Chaminade-Madonna brings in, who is starting his 3rd state championship game. Was it important to get this increase in sack production to be able to have that pressure to come on? A quarterback like Cedric Bailey.
I mean, not to sound obnoxious, but it's hard for a quarterback to throw the ball from his back, and that's something that we've sort of preached to our guys this year. We've got a good core group of 5 or 6 guys that play for us up front defensively, and I'm a big guy. I think that your bigs on offense and on defense are sort of how you ultimately see your success. If you can run the football on offense and you can apply pressure and stop the run on defense through the play of your front, then you're going to have some success. And then to see that uptick, I mean, you're right. We're playing Mr. Bailey here, and he's got weapons on the outside to try to throw the ball over the yard. But I think that just like any other quarterback, if we get enough pressure, we make him throw it soon. We can force him to make some mistakes and offensively take advantage of them.
Well, of course, and then talking about defense, Andy Jaffe, it would behoove me to mention him because he has been one of your stout leaders on defense. 83 tackles, leading the team in tackles here. And what is it about Andy that he's been a phenomenal performer? When last year when things were kind of sluggish in the state championship game, Andy was the one that was standing out there in terms of making the plays, and he's been doing that again. So what is it about for his senior year here? What has it been special for him?
Well, I mean, anytime you talk about a kid that's an SEC football player, Andy will be enrolling in Ole Miss here in January. They don't take average players in the SEC. Andy's played a lot of football for us. He started as a true freshman, and that doesn't happen much here, especially in the secondary. He started as a true freshman. He's done just about everything you could possibly ask a kid to do offensively and defensively over his 4-year career. Now, he doesn't have as big a role on the offensive side this year, but he is our go-to defensively. He's the guy, him and our other safety, Duke Rich. Our defense runs through those guys. I mean, they're great communicators. They're physical downhill safeties, and for what we do defensively, they're the perfect fit. I mean, they can play man coverage, they can play zone coverage, not afraid to stick their nose into it. And Andy, I mean, like I said, he's an SEC safety for a reason. He's going to be an SEC safety for a reason. And we need him to bring that physicality and command that presence, in a lot of the same way he did last year, but even, a little bit more aggressively. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, as we go back when looking at that schedule here that y'all played this year, the first two teams that you had on your schedule this year, they're both playing for state championships this week as well. Berkeley Prep and Trinity Catholic. Yeah. And y'all took care of business against Trinity Catholic in week 2. And they're a team that went 3-7 in the regular season and 6-7 coming to state championship game. I mean, does that didn't surprise you, did it? That they made the state championship game with the fact that the way their schedule went?
I think that John Brantley has the same approach that I do. I think that in order for you to be able to put yourself in a situation where you can go into a game with a team like Chaminade Madonna, you can't schedule just wins. And we were lucky enough this year to come away with wins against a great schedule. But I think with what Coach Brantley's doing is, he took the same approach as we do. We're not preparing for a end of season record. We're preparing to win the last game possible. And we did that. We were able to, like you said, schedule 2 teams that are playing for a state championship game. And I think that because we played that schedule and that caliber of competition, that's what ultimately prepared us for this opportunity. That's if you ultimately want to be in a position like this, I tell people this all the time. You can have the mentality that you'll travel for a win or you'll schedule home games with people that you can beat. But if you don't test yourself numerous times throughout the season, I mean, we played Cardinal Gibbons week 11 in Fort Lauderdale. You're talking about a team that's won 3 of the last 6 state championships, and we're playing them the week before the season ends. So, I mean, I think that in and of itself has been why we feel so confident about where we are and where we're headed. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, that game coming up here on Thursday morning in the Class 1M state championship game against Chaminade Madonna at 10 o'clock kickoff at Ken Riley Field at Bragg Memorial Stadium on the campus of Florida A&M University. And Coach, let me ask you this. How do you feel about, the state championship games actually returning to a college campus for the first time in a long time?
Cool. I do. I think that, my father-in-law was the head coach here when they went to their first state championship in 2013 when they played Trinity Christian, and they played it in the Citrus Bowl, and it's a cool experience for our kids. I think that, first of all, if you play a state championship in a barn, it's a good experience for our kids. But then to add the element of a college stadium and all of the, pomp and circumstance that comes with that, I think it's a great reward for our kids for all hard work and ultimate success that they've had.
No, absolutely. And Coach, definitely appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule. Of course, it's a short week there for your Marauders, and we'll see you in Tallahassee on Thursday morning for the state championship game in Class 1M at Ken Riley Field at Bragg Memorial Stadium. And we're looking forward to it. And
Thank you, Josh.
All right, that was head coach Chris Harvey of the Clearwater Central Catholic Marauders. They will be playing in the Class 1M state championship on Thursday morning against Sherman and Madonna. Stay tuned to FloridaHSFootball.com for more content from the state championships. We'll see you